Hi, this is Rockwell Felder from SquadCast, and you are listening to the Heart Healthy Hustle podcast with my friend Jonathan Frederick, and we hope you enjoy the show.
What are you getting after? What seeds are you planting? What are you overcoming? Think big. Think even bigger. Take some risks. God's got your back. Go for it. Don't hold back. Don't ever have regrets in your life. Go fail. Go grow from those things. Live your life.
Your identity is not defined by your successes or your failures.
If you're not happy where you're at, you won't be happy where you're going. Choose to do the things that will make you the person you want to be, that will make you a better person next week and next year.
You're going to have to leave some things you're actually good at behind so that you can find what you're wired for, what you're born for.
Being a world-class entrepreneur is being in every area of life excellent.
It is the little things that are so easy not to do.
The best thing that you can do is assume the best in people.
I want people around the world to believe they can do something great with their life.
If I build the biggest business, but I destroy my physical body and I lose my health, I don't think that's success. While you're on the journey climbing to success, never forget the things that matter most.
If you like this episode, be sure to hit the subscribe button. First podcast on SquadCast.fm, and we are here with one of the co-founders, Rockwell Felder, and he's the co-founder of SquadCast. I'll let him introduce himself. Give us a brief intro into your day-to-day life, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Jonathan. So I am the co-founder and CFO of SquadCast, and we help podcasters like you record your remote conversations all in studio quality that listeners love. So it's like Zoom for podcasters.
Your side of the conversation usually comes through. Like for me, I've been using Skype call recording. I'll have a conversation with someone over Skype. Even if it's flawless, which it never is, it will be then their recording sounds fine, but I have to go in, of course, do a lot of doctoring, and it's not going to sound as good as if we were in the same room together, right? And that is because what? It's called compressed files. Is it compressed through the internet?
Exactly. Yeah, it's the way that they're recording over the internet. And so we just thought, okay, there has to be a different way, a better way, because the way SquadCast started is we were starting a podcast. Our team was remote, and so we ran into these issues with audio quality. We didn't like how, different it sounded and felt like it was irritating or disturbing to our listeners. And, whatever your reason is for podcasting, I think almost everyone wants more listeners. At least more quality listeners, right? So
yeah, more CPMs, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
Cash money.
That's the name of the game, man. And so we're trying to optimize for something that listeners will love and that it'll sound like it's happened in the same room, or they're just not even thinking about it because they're so locked into that great conversation. And it was crazy to us, and it's still crazy to me still how some of my favorite podcasts, I hear that Skypey sound.
That's the truth, man. I was listening to one the other, I'm not going to name the show, multiple that are doing phenomenally well, which I'm glad for them, but it blows my mind. Same thing. I'm like, this audio quality, it's actually unpleasant to listen to. Yeah.
And they can probably get away with it, but I think what's exciting about podcasting is it's growing. There's been a lot of work, it's been 10 years plus in the making. Been a lot of people.
This has podcasting. Okay, I thought you meant SquadCast.
No, we've been around.
You guys are thorough.
Yeah, no. I'm just saying we're standing on the shoulders.
Put
of
all the eggs in this one. Yeah, all the chips on the table.
Well, 10-year mindset for sure. When we get into this, it's like, hey, man, we're playing this for the long game.
Yeah, and I think you guys are hitting a huge niche. I've been podcasting over 120 episodes. Let's jump into your story, a little bit of your background, build some rapport with you, Rock, and then get into some tactical conversations around podcasting. What drives you from your day-to-day? You're a driven guy, part of a startup.
Man, my driver is to keep challenging myself and keep putting myself out there. It's crazy to see what happens when you give yourself a shot. Yeah. Put yourself out there and the way things happen. It's weird how you just keep going and pushing every day. Even, the good days, the bad days, especially the bad days, and stuff just happens, continuing to show up day in and day out. I've just learned that even though if I'm in those uncomfortable situations, it's usually temporary, and it becomes less uncomfortable, and I'm less anxious in those situations the more I'm in them. Podcasting is a very collaborative community, and so it's been pushing me out of my comfort zone to engage with folks in all different sorts of ways, whether it's on our app via SquadCast or these different events. We like to go to events like Podcast Movement or PodFest, and then local meetups out here in the Bay Area.
Cool. So are you in Irvine? Where are you guys at? Palo Alto?
We're in Oakland, California.
Oh, in Oakland. Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. So it's cool because
I hate that train, bro. I'm not gonna lie. I hate that thing.
Yeah, it's definitely not glamorous at all, especially for San Francisco being the city that it is, in the tech hub. But it does get you around, man. I use it, and it is efficient. Yeah,
that's good. Efficient. Well, as long as you can capitalize on it. I got stuck on there, like total rookie mistake, and it was sad. I went out to.
It's not even helpful if you know where you're going, man. It's so easy to. You would think that they'd have like some sort of technology or lights or something that would.
It's so confusing. If you've ever gotten lost on the BART, then you know. But
I still do.
Even the reps at the stops, I kept getting off each stop to find where I was, and they wouldn't help me. They wouldn't help me. One guy looked at me like, "What are you, stupid?" It wouldn't help me. It was so bizarre. But
that's too bad. You must have met a rough crowd, man.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, no, it was great out there. I had a great time when I was in San Francisco. Visited Facebook, Tesla, and a couple other companies. Man, that's crazy. So you guys, what's your game plan with SquadCast? This is a startup. You guys have a team. We're both repping our brand here. And so what is this? We have on your shirt here is a microphone. It looks like in the shape of an S.
Yep. Yeah. Right? So it's our logo designed by our chief designer, Alex Wedby. He's one of our founding team members. Yeah. So we are a small team. There's 5 of us. It's a bootstrap startup. So it's all been, cool. Funded by us and our customers. So, we're fortunate for that, but it's been a grind, and it doesn't fit the normal Silicon Valley startup story of build a low level product and then pitch it to investors, get the money, and then blow that thing up. We kind of went at it a different angle, and really we're just following our gut. It just seemed right to build something on our own, and then we're not opposed to investment certainly, but it was a good way for us to really learn and get intimate with the problems that our customers were facing, who these people were. So it's been great, but not easy as you can imagine.
Sure, for sure. And so what's your story? What were you doing before this?
So I am the CFO, so my background is in accounting and finance. I was a CPA for 5 years at a public accounting firm in Sacramento, and then I would do some work in the Bay Area as well. And it was a great career. I got exposed to a lot of different clients. I was a financial statement auditor, so like these IPOs come out and they have to release like public financial statements. I would work on teams that were building those financial statements with the client or auditing them, so vouching the numbers, so to speak. And to some people, I'm sure it sounds boring. To some degree, the actual work was, but I got exposed to so many different C-suite executives, so many different types of business owners, founders, high-level employees. And then I got to work with some really, really intelligent, high-performing people that were part of my company. So I was always in a different location every week. And as you can imagine, that can wear you out after a while. But it was always cool being in a different place, working in a different company with a completely different culture, and getting exposed to all that stuff. And then that's really, I think, where I started to get that entrepreneurial fire, because I'd always wanted to do my own thing to some degree, not to be my own boss, but to be a part of building something cool. It exposed me to these folks that were doing that kind of stuff. And I just remember thinking like, well, why not me? Like, why can't I do that? All these people did is they just did something instead of just sticking around at whatever. So
honestly, man, I'm going to interject because we're talking right now. All I did last year was start a podcast. The thought process behind, I could have a conversation with one of the co-founders of a company. Why not? If you asked me that 3 years ago, not that I didn't think I was worthy of it, right? But you just don't think it's possible.
Yeah.
Huh? You can do that? Yeah, crazy, you can do that. It's amazing. It's amazing. When did you bet on yourself and say, why not me?
Yeah, it's interesting, man. About the same time in my life, so back in 2015, I had gotten my CPA license and, was making like a pretty good salary at that point, especially as a single young gentleman. I was living a good life, like and it's like I could support a family on that life. I could have decent vacations and stuff, like, save up for that 401k, but it just didn't feel like enough. It didn't feel empty. And I think really what flipped the switch to where I felt compelled and focused to figure out things on my own was when I started training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. The reason why is because that is also a 10-year commitment. If you round a 10-year commitment, if you want to go from white to black, assuming you have some relative consistency. But
were you training Gracie?
Yeah. Okay. So it's a grind, but I realized that my current career path was going to be in opposition of my jiu-jitsu training, and I had to figure out, and it was an opponent.
So you're really involved. You're taking it very serious.
Oh, I love it, man. It's like a piece of me now, as much as SquadCast and this journey is. Yeah. So it's like, how do I get this stuff to all integrate? Because it wasn't integrated.
Let's get that API going here, man.
Yeah. They talk about like work-life balance, and it's like, that's kind of not true because, well, my life is after work. No, like it's got to all work together in some way. So, so like I said, I got exposed to a lot of stuff, but I am glad that I found something else to do, because it's been a crazy experience, as it sounds like you probably have too, where you're just like, okay, there's, it sounds probably cliche because the highs are super high and the lows are super low, and it can change like minute to minute.
Yeah, it's true. I think that progress is a really interesting dynamic where you make a lot of progress and it's awesome. And then even though you have the mentality of, it's all about the journey, it's all about the process. Yeah, I appreciate the journey. Even in that, you still want to hit the destination. You still want to hit the investment. You still want to get the goal. You still want to, you know what I mean?
Still trying to get paid. Still trying to get some sort of,
there's still that destination desire there.
Yeah.
I find. What do you think about that?
Yeah, man. I mean, it's tough. I mean, for jiu-jitsu, they always talk about like, jiu-jitsu is forever. You can be training this till you're like 60. So yeah, and still, doing some things. And so it's like, don't focus on a belt, or don't focus on this. It just keep showing up, and things will just happen. And so I kind of try to have that approach to entrepreneurship and being a business owner, as well as just like, because I want to be a black belt in both pretty much. And so it's just like, take what works there and just apply it to other aspects of my life, and things will work out. I just got to be patient. I think that's the hardest part for me, and I don't know if you feel that way, but it's like, I understand that this is a long journey. I understand that the rewards will come with time, and I just got to keep showing up day in, day out, brick by brick, building this thing, whether it's the company, myself, relationships with people, whatever. But it's tough where I'm just like, okay, I'm ready to get that big payoff. I'm ready to, I'm ready for that victory,
I hear that, but going back a bit, I don't know if we got like a straight to the point takeaway answer for when did you like choose yourself? What was it that you're like, man, why not me? Did you just one day you were thinking that, or was it because of your desire to have an integrated lifestyle?
It was, I think, the integrated lifestyle part, where I just realized that the current path I was on, I would, by all accounts, have been considered successful. I was the first to go to college in my family, so that was a big deal.
Wow.
So
what's your background?
Well, so, I mean, what do you mean by that, I guess?
Like ethnicity?
Are
you from an immigrant family, or?
No. I mean, okay. I like to think they gave me some of that immigrant work ethic,
right?
Because that's a big deal.
Right.
But no, so I mean, my parents were pretty good during my childhood, but things kind of fell apart when I was in my 20s. Thankfully, I think they had given me enough skills, or I just had enough natural skills to kind of deal with a lot of the stuff that was going on during that time period. Because even though I was an adult, it was still a rough thing to deal with, because our family did kind of fall apart, but I kept pursuing these goals and stuff like that. So it was cool to make a lot of people in my family proud, to keep pushing the bar. And a lot of people in my family have followed. My sister does some pretty incredible things as well. But yeah, man, we come from a pretty entrepreneurial background. I have I guess what's really been helpful for me is, my real dad has been my poor dad, but I've had my uncle, his brother, who's been my rich dad. So that's been really good to see that play out over the long term. And that's kind of where I learned that, like, you discipline and accountability and just maintaining focus for a long period of time, and you'll be rewarded. And I've seen that play out with those two examples.
Oh, cool. That's really neat. Yeah, the progress, there's definitely high highs and low lows with anything you choose to pursue. I've been noticing that. What's fascinating too, have you done a podcast? Are you guys currently consistently podcasting? What's the story there?
Yeah, so like I said, we were originally starting SquadCast to create a science fiction podcast. We put that on hold. Science fiction is pretty hard to make. Yeah, it's pretty awesome though. So we wanted to do it right. We do have a podcast now. It's called Between Two Mics. We interview people in podcasting. Nice. Zach, my co-founder Zach and me, we interview people that are pushing the envelope in podcasting and really moving the industry forward the way that we think it's going. And we want SquadCast to be a part of that as well.
That's awesome. Yeah, I actually first heard about you guys on Jordan Harbinger. How did you get linked up with him?
Yeah, so I mean, as you probably know, Jordan's just a really awesome dude, and so he had tried out SquadCast and he liked what he saw, but followed up with some feedback because what happened was I saw his email come across as a sign up, and I was like, oh, I gotta hit him up.
Yeah, hit him up.
So hit him up, let him know, hey, we're big fan of your show, stoked you sign up. Stuff like that. Please let us know how we can help.
And for those listening, Jordan Harbinger is top podcast, Apple iTunes 2018. Like he's been podcasting for 13 years, a legend in the space. So anyway. Yeah.
But like who he is in the podcast or interviews is how he is like outside of that stuff. So he's just a really generous, giving dude. So when he reached out to us, he said, hey, I want to help. I see some promise here. And one awesome. Thing led to another, and now he's part of the team. So it's really great to.
That's awesome.
Oh yeah. So it's like cool. So we get to have monthly meetings with him, hang out at these events with him, take him to dinner sometimes. So he's been a great guy to have in the corner because he's just, he has that fire still. His story is really amazing. He kind of just basically left his podcast that was really successful, started over. So having someone like that on the team is really good for us because if he can start over, so can we, and so it's encouraging to be around somebody like that.
Yeah, Jordan's cool, and I had him on the podcast like 3 weeks ago.
Oh, that's awesome.
He's got he's a very cool guy. Man, so your story, I like to ask people this question. The Heart Healthy Hustle Round, you said you're into health. Obviously, you're into jiu-jitsu.
Yep.
How do you maintain your physical health? Oh, I'm sorry. Heart Healthy Hustle Round. So the first category is heart. So I'm going off the JLD, the legendary, John Lee Dumas does the fire round. So I totally didn't copy him for this.
No, of course not.
I did, right? So how do you maintain your, what do you do to care for your internal character, for your heart? First category.
Very cool. That's a good question, man.
Another way to look at it might be, I'm sorry to interrupt. A lot of people don't know what I mean. So another way I look at it might be, how do you develop self-awareness, strengthen your positive attributes internally?
I think keeping good company helps. So my girlfriend is a huge, she's my biggest fan, but she's also my thermometer. She checks me and it's great, and she compliments me on a lot of things, and I wouldn't be able to do this without her, quite frankly. So having that is helpful. Having a team that I have that's going to check me and also get me to always continue to want to be better. It's weird, like doing this, starting this business, and it's an internet company, so a lot of the living is done online, and sometimes the only time I do actually get other human contact is when I go to jiu-jitsu training. So
it's a lot of contact too.
Yeah, it's like one extreme to the other, I suppose. So it's just and having advisors, like we have in addition to Jordan, we have a few other advisors, and they keep it real with us, man. They've had some real conversations, and that's been great. And so I would say mostly the people around me and just listening to them.
Yeah, what I hear in that is taking feedback. Like,
absolutely.
A big question I'm learning how to ask recently is, what can I do better? Because that I heard from this book is called What Got You Here Won't Get You There. And I forget who wrote it, but the cover is like a ladder that's broken in the middle, and he's reaching up for like the next. And it's about mostly a corporate thing, but he talks a lot about feedback and feed forward. And like you said, like you're taking what people say, and like not everyone, but people who matter to you, and learning from it.
Yeah.
I like that. That's
And I definitely do a lot of book reading and stuff like that too to help expand my mind. But kind of finding out that like trusting your gut is kind of a magical thing, and you know, most of the poor decisions I've made in my life, I've gone against my gut. Like I knew better and I just did otherwise for whatever reason. So I've been really digging that, because it's like I know what's the right thing to do. Just asking myself what's the right thing to do here, and kind of doing it, even if it's not comfortable.
That's a great point, Rock. That's a really good point, because do you think do you trust your gut with like relationships as well? Like, how did you meet your girlfriend, if you don't mind me asking?
We met at work, and so that was actually pretty awesome. We didn't work directly with each other a whole lot, but I got to learn her character in a unique way than I had ever met anybody, and she is like always the hardest worker in the room, even harder than me, to be honest. So wow, that is awesome, and she has really good character and morals and principles and stuff, and so and that job is a stressful job, and so learning, seeing someone like that, and seeing, it was we had similar goals and passions, but we complemented each other. So yeah, that's how we met. And it's funny because it was work, so I really wasn't trying to date anyone at work, trying to keep it, professional. She was actually, I went on a recruiting lunch, and she was the recruit that we were trying to win over from a previous firm. So it was a lunch with, there was like 3 of us at lunch. And I remember the girl who was at the lunch with us that worked for the firm, worked with us too. She was like, I don't think she's going to work with us. She didn't seem really like wowed by us. And I was like, thinking in my head, like, oh, well, that's not the worst thing, because she is kind of cute. and then
my man's on a mission.
But then, and then when she did come over and stuff, we got to, we were celebrating one of my best friends passing his CPA exams. So we were out at a bar, and it started to become pretty obvious that she was into me. So I was like, okay, this is probably not going to result in some work problems, so let's just see where it goes. And it's been great ever since. It's been 4 years. So
wow, congrats.
Yeah, definitely going to be putting on a ring on it soon. Just waiting for this startup.
You heard it here first, folks. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's pretty obvious, but we're gonna make this startup thing work.
Cool, man. That's really cool, man. I'm happy to hear that. I love hearing successful stories like that. And obviously there's always a lot of ups and downs, but just the overwhelming energy that you're kind of speaking from is a lot of joy. So that's awesome, man. That's really cool. It's rare. Yeah. So that's cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure, man. I'm wondering, with starting SquadCast, a lot of people who listen to my show, not a lot, I would say probably like a 16th of them roughly are also podcasting, because you meet each other. It's a great way to network. You're on each other's shows, this, that, and the third. And I'm wondering, for those listening who are like, SquadCast, what's the big deal? What are some things, like this is a very beautiful layout, very simplified, but also not thorough enough, but it's just what you need, I'm also noticing we've had no connection issues. At least I haven't. You haven't either, right?
Of course I haven't.
Yeah, right. And you sound really good coming through. You actually sound better than any call I've ever had. I'm not even just saying this. You really do. And it's weird because I'm seeing here as well, it actually monitors your volume level. Is that right? Is that what?
Yeah.
So I've been hitting the red a lot. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. I'm going to guess it's probably not ideal, right? So it means I'm going to have some clipping?
Fine. It could probably be dialed down, the sensitivity.
It seems very sensitive, because even right now it keeps going red, but it's not. Yeah, it's not every time I'm talking. So cool. But yeah, what would you say to? Podcasters, go check it out. SquadCast.fm, of course. But in terms of podcast recording platforms, will this work if you have a Mac? Will this work if you have a PC? What are the nuances?
Yeah, so like you said, we're going for a very sleek looking design. We want it to feel fun, and we really want you to focus on having a great conversation, and we want that conversation to sound really professional to your audience. And so we try to give the best of both worlds that Skype and Zoom, which a lot of podcasters use, is great for communicating, for video conferencing and stuff like that. But it really wasn't made for a podcast and for people to listen to later. And that's why the recordings don't sound as good. And so we really wanted, but we wanted the video aspects to aid the conversation. So the video isn't being recorded yet. That'll be coming. But we wanted, that nonverbal communication is so important. Seeing the person, having that kind of, it's not a in-person interview is sometimes ideal, but if you can't do it, which not all of us, can get the studio time or fly each other out to each other's houses or whatever, that's not always an option. So we wanted it to be as a great remote conversation as possible.
Yeah, it's cool. So we're sitting here, I've got my screen and then your screen, and, I can see you here real time. Mm-hmm. It's recording audio. So you're not recording video as well, just audio.
Yeah.
And
we'll be
recording
adding video
real time.
Recording soon. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, no doubt. Very cool. Cool, man. And then, going back into podcasting a little bit, one of the things I've noticed, what are some tips, right? Okay. Do you know Baird? I don't know if that's how you say his name, but it's he made Wave, WAVVE, I think.
Yeah, I met those guys. Yeah.
Yeah. So I will say, I've never invested in their product. I have tried it. It's very cool. They make like the waveform picture videos for Instagram or whatever. Mm-hmm. They provide some of the most helpful emails that have very little to do with their product. Of course, they're always plugging themselves, but it's not like their emails are ridiculous. Like, oh, by the way, Apple just sent out this update this morning and you may want to check this out if you're podcasting. And it's like the most valuable like newsletter for myself as a podcaster that I get. Mm-hmm. Even though, of course, they always put like a pretty link for their website, which is more than fair. But it's something that I think that other companies like in your position would benefit from. I think you guys do that already. Maybe I need to sign up for that, those emails, but that's something that's pretty cool. I really found that very helpful as well. But
yeah, it's I think a lot of us in podcasting understand the importance of educating people, because there's a lot of new people coming into the space, and unfortunately, there's not always the best information out there. So I think there's a lot of, that's good to hear that they're doing that. That's something that we take seriously. We tend to focus on the ideal remote recording experience. But there's other companies that are doing great work, such as Rebel Base Media. Their company is Podcast Websites and Captivate are the two companies under that umbrella. And that's what they're all about, is like helping beginners podcast and keeping people that have a few podcasts under their belt, keeping them in podcasting, because that's another thing that's difficult. It's one thing to start and launch your show. That's its whole own thing. It's another thing to sustain it and keep up with that schedule and continue to grow and produce very interesting content.
Yeah.
And let's be frank, man. Podcasting is not easy, but there's people that come into it thinking that all they got to do is just get a microphone and some software and record and it's easy, and there's so much work that goes into it. It really is a business, a startup in a lot of ways. You got to do a lot of the same stuff. You got to find a need. You got to give some compelling thing that makes you different to address that need in that audience. And you got to market it. You got to do this social media stuff that I don't think a lot of people are realize that they're signing up for. There's just a lot that goes into it.
Yeah, I'm in the outsourcing phase right now for certain things like editing, and it'd be great to have an audio file that merges a locally recorded interview on your end and my end. So the audio you're getting on the final product is audio that's actually as if we're in the same room. So it's magic.
Yeah, that's helpful, because right now we give you separate tracks of local recordings, but very soon we'll be adding the option for you to sync it up into one, so you can just, you can still,
Okay, cool. So it would be, okay. So you're having recording. Okay, gotcha. Cool. That's awesome, man. So you're, how old are you, Rock?
I'm 31, just turned 31.
Okay.
So,
happy birthday.
Thank you. Yeah, loving it actually.
Is there some grays in there?
No, not yet. I'm fortunate, man. I'm not gray yet and still have my hair, so that's freaking awesome. But I mean, it's funny. People ask me about it, and I'm just like, getting older is not too bad as long as I'm just getting better. Life just seems to be more colorful each year. So if that's getting older, I'm down with it because I feel smarter, I feel calmer, I feel just wiser. So it ain't so bad.
That's awesome, man. What are some things that over the last, let's say, decade? Perfect. Let's say the last decade. What are it doesn't have to be a number, but what are some of the most valuable things that you're just like, man, I'm really glad I learned that, whether it was the hard way or the easy way, man, I'm glad.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing for me was getting my CPA license, which for those who don't know, it's a certified public accountant. And it's a big deal when you're in the accounting field to get it. It's kind of it's like a master's in some ways, but there's no program for it. It's kind of all on your own. And I think for me, that was a big deal because it felt like in bowling, when you're like a kid and you can put those barriers up so you never roll a gutter ball. School to me kind of felt like bowling with the gutter balls there. As long as I stayed within there, I was going to hit some pins and it was going to work out. But the CPA to me felt like that's off. And if there's no easy way to get this, it's all on me now. I can't just, learn how the professor grades and kind of cater to that. That's kind of, to me, finding the angle. How do you play the game? How does the game played in this situation? And so to me, it was very open-ended and all on me, and which was intimidating at first because I didn't believe in myself enough probably then. And so for then, once I passed all those exams, and it's not just one, it's actually 4 exams. So it's a 2-year process. Very stressful because I'm still working a full-time job that's demanding 50, 60 hours a week. So, it was a tough time, but that was the moment I stopped believing in myself. And I don't think I would be here today, co-founder of SquadCast, had I not gone through that and had I not learned that about myself. I wish I would have learned it sooner, but I'm super grateful that I did because it unlocks something for me of okay, quit doubting yourself. That's the last time you doubt yourself because you don't know what you're capable of if you give yourself a shot. So that's been
cool.
Super great. I've been super grateful to go through that.
That's awesome. Yeah. Anything else that even life lessons or business lessons as you worked into corporate, what are some things that you learned?
I think the biggest thing that I've learned, and it's my favorite thing, quite honestly, about being an entrepreneur, business owner, is that you can't hide from your problems when you're the owner of a business. At some degree, it's always on you. And so, and I what I say is I would say to my team, there's no hiding in this game, guys. And I like that because I feel like that pressure is making us perform better, and it's just making us better people. So not running away from problems, kind of being proactive as you see them develop or come up. I just learned too often that you let it simmer or you try to tuck it away. It almost never works out one way or another. So run to trouble, I guess.
I like the quote, shovel the piles while they're small.
That's brilliant. Yeah, I love that.
You know where I got that?
Man. Where'd you get that?
That is so true. That was from my first interview, man. Chris Lytle is an author.
Very cool.
Crazy. Full circle.
That's a great one to start off with.
Just shovel the piles while they're small. Yeah. That's awesome, man. Thanks for sharing that. I'm thinking relationally, right? You're a hardworking dude, pretty focused.
Sure.
Were you in where you're located now? Have you been in that area for the last decade?
No, actually, I just recently moved to Oakland. My co-founder, Zach, lives in the East Bay, Alameda, which is like a little island out here. But it was just a good spot for us to be in tech, obviously. But then also there's a pretty dope podcasting scene out here too. So it was a good mixture for us to be out here, and with him already out here. And I was coming to the Bay Area quite often to, meet with people, and it just made sense for us to move here. My girlfriend, thankfully, she was down because we were living in Sacramento, and that's where it's pretty much where I grew up. I was born in Fresno, but Sacramento's my home. And it was a good place to grow up, but I'm actually glad that I moved out, and just to, see what else is out there. And, it's been, it is a crazy place living in San Francisco, Oakland area, because there's just so much people and so much going on, but it's also like this giant sandbox where there's all these like startups trying to do this fun stuff. And so like, there's just, it's a lot of fun when you're in the game. And so I'm happy to be in it.
It's cool. It's cool, man. I could see you guys going far. I'm excited for you.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah, and I mean it too, just based on everything that's going on. Have you guys talked to, do you know Anchor? Are they out there too? Anchor FM? Anchor,
I believe, is in New York. I think we met the CEO quickly once at Podcast Movement. No, they're not out here. But what they've done is pretty awesome.
You mentioned there are a lot of podcast things going on out there, and I'm feeling left out being on the East Coast myself. So what's all this that's going on out there?
Well, there's just a lot of podcasters that are based in the Bay Area, and we have a few local meetups here that are pretty fun, so we attend those regularly.
For podcasters or
for podcasters? Yep.
Okay. How do those work?
Yeah, I mean, it tends to be topical, so they'll talk about whatever the group wants to talk about, or maybe they'll have a guest in podcasting. So, some folks that are in the industry that can give us some inside information and stuff. But it's also just a place to work out our ideas. How are you using Instagram? How are you using YouTube? Stuff like that. And for us, it was great just to immerse ourselves with these folks, because we came in it as outsiders at first. So the best place to learn is from the people that are doing it. And so that's what we did early on. And then unfortunately, there's not like a lot of big events out here. Most of the events tend to be more on your side of the world. So Podfest is in Orlando, Florida. Podcast Movement was actually there earlier this month rather.
Yeah.
And then but they have events they had events in Philly, and there's a few other ones in your area that we wish we could attend, but logistically it's like, okay, maybe it's
a lot of time.
Well, there's so many now. There's a lot of podcasting events.
Man, that's the thing. I'm sure they're all great. It's just,
they are.
Which one am I going to go to? It's just so many to choose from.
Yeah. Have you been to any?
So I have been to the NAB show. So no podcast specific shows, but I've been to quite a few different events.
NAB is wild. We went to the one in Vegas last spring. Oh, you were there?
I was there 2017, not this past year.
Okay. Yeah. So it's insane.
Yeah, dude. I had. Do you know the brand DJI?
I don't.
They make drones. Like they're the brand for the Phantom drones and stuff.
Sweet.
But they also made something called an Osmo, which is the three-axis gimbal camera.
Okay.
And I had that attached to like a monopod, and then I had a micro mic, like a directional mic, shotgun mic, on there as well. And I had that on top of a monopod, and I was walking around like Gandalf with this thing because it had the dead cat on it, the gray puff on it. Yeah. And I was walking around NAB with that. I didn't even care. I was just walking around with that.
Hey man, that's a place that you will fit in. I guess Vegas, you can just do whatever you want in general, but especially NAB, everyone's walking around with some stuff. So yeah,
it's crazy.
I'm sure you fit right in.
What did you find out there? Anything in particular when you're at that show?
Yeah, so we went specifically because we had heard that NAB had taken more of an interest in podcasting. So there was a few other companies that were going to be out there. And so we just went as attendees to check it out. And, that was pretty cool because we got to network with a lot of the folks that work for those companies and hang out with them. And so...
You're talking like Sennheiser, or are you talking more so like podcast specific stuff?
Yeah, so equipment was certainly there. So we got to collaborate with some of those folks, and then some of the podcasts more specific, like the hosting companies. So Libsyn, Blueberry, Podbean, they were out there.
Cool.
And then a few of our other friends that do other stuff, like some of the folks from Simplecast. Well, they're hosting, but so it's always good just you know, a lot of stuff gets done, you know, at the dinner table or at these fun events.
Yeah.
You know, you just, you don't know where it's going to go, but it's a good way to connect and get them to know you on a deeper level, know them on a deeper level. Everyone's kind of got that, that like event or convention kind of face, I think, especially when you're like
the DC, the Washington DC face. You ever been to DC?
I have.
People say everyone is kind of like, you know, creased and folded, and like they might be a politician one day. So that's kind of the mode out there. I believe it, but
yeah,
anyway.
It's definitely a unique place. It's kind of got it's similar to San Francisco, where, you know, there's a general consistency of what everyone's into, but I dug it. I thought it was pretty cool.
It's cool. Yeah, I hear it's cool to live out there too, in DC particularly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
except for the weather.
Right on. Yo, the weather out in near Virginia is crazy as well. It's pretty wild because it's like a vortex right there with Blue Ridge Mountains.
Oh,
so I got to ask you, do you do it? What else do you do for fun? You do the jiu-jitsu? Do you have time to do anything else for fun? Do you do like dancing? Do you do motorcycle?
Yeah, I mean, you know, we definitely do some dancing whenever there's some good news. But I mean, really, the two. I mean, I'm fortunate enough to like be having a ton of fun doing work.
Yeah.
But then jiu-jitsu is definitely my outlet for a lot of, you know, it's the physical thing. It's also there's a great community involved with that. It's also great networking. A lot of individuals that do that tend to be like professionals or like just hardworking people with connections. So that's pretty
very cool
too.
People too.
Yeah. Oh, they're the chillest people. It's crazy because like they're trying to choke you out, but then they're like the most generous, nice person ever.
I'm going to introduce you to this investor friend of mine.
That actually happened yesterday. I'm not kidding.
Oh, that's crazy. That's crazy.
So I really, those are my two big passions. I would say the other thing that I really, on the personal side, I do spend a lot of time with my girlfriend when I can. Family, not as much, since now I'm living away from them. And you know, the social life, I'll be honest, has taken a hit with all these other priorities I got going on. But I'm okay with it because I had a social life in my early to mid 20s, so that's fine. And I'm enjoying what I'm doing now, and I don't, you know, have any of that burnout stuff, or, you know, it just everything's, you know, I don't want to say perfect. It's certainly, you know, challenging. We've had actually some pretty challenging weeks recently, but overall, it's like, big picture, it's like I'm just, you know, you talk about what you think of yourself before starting this journey like 3 years ago. You know, my journey started about 3 years ago as well too, and just to have an opportunity to be in the game and to have somebody like you reach out to me and want to interview me, that would have been crazy to me too. And so like I'm just grateful and thankful that I have an opportunity. And, you know, if we don't win at this, if SquadCast isn't it, it's, you know, going to be because someone is better, you know, because we're working our butts off and putting everything we got into this. So, you know, fair play if someone else does it better. That it won't be because we didn't try our best. So, and
nice.
It won't be the end here. We'll just take what we learned here and apply it to other stuff.
Yep.
So, yeah, so it's been a good journey, but I'm still looking forward to what we can do in the next 3 years, the next 10 years. I mean, can you imagine that, man? Like where we're going to be on 10 years if we just keep this up? Like,
that's the crazy thing, dude. I think that is the answer to a question that I had in my mind to ask you, which is how do you handle the highs and lows, as aforementioned? But what you just said, I think is a large part of it. The mental staying grounded, at least in your mind, because, dude, I love that kind of question, man. That is like that. You really got me going here, because I got to tell you, I'm like really, I like to think I'm very grounded. You're probably more grounded than me because you do jiu-jitsu. I'm just being honest. You guys are ridiculously grounded, like handle any situation, just literally. And I mean, you're, you know, grappling in the dirt, like, that's crazy. It's awesome. But that question is so key. I think, would you agree? Do you think that is part of how you can handle the highs and lows, is because of just, you know, it's a long game?
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't mean it's easy though, right? But I'm certainly telling myself that all the time, or just trying to take a step back and realize that even though these are problems and it requires difficult decisions and it requires, maybe a little more effort than I was hoping to dedicate to certain things. Like, for example, like, we had an investor that wanted to invest in us, which is great. Like, it's super awesome. And then we said no, and he kind of reacted it was unprofessional, but it kind of ripped into us a little bit, as like our abilities and our
just things he said derogatory as in response.
Yeah. It was just like it just cut a little deep. And like, at the end of the day, we're trusting our guts and we listen to our advisors, so we know we made the right decision. And I know even this time next year, we'll probably look back on this and be like, yeah, that was a good decision. I'm very, very confident of that. But like in the moment, in the short term, it sucked and it hurt.
Yeah.
And
it's gotta love it though.
But it's par for the course. Yeah. It's like, did we expect to get into this and not have stuff like that happen? No, it's gonna happen. Like that's how it goes. And so the fact, again, I'm just grateful that like we're in the game, that we have these opportunities. It sounds weird, but like, this is supposed to be tough. So if it's not, I get worried. As weird as that might sound.
So when you say, can you imagine 10 years from now, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, just like, we're blown away by what we've done in 3 years, and 3 years is not that long, right? It's one of that, it's kind of a sweet spot where you can say like, yeah, I kind of know what I'm doing now. I'm not a complete deer in the headlights, but I got some swag to this, but I'm definitely not an expert or a veteran. But I think, 10 years from now, my hope is that I will be more of an expert. I will be a black belt in jiu-jitsu and an entrepreneur. And and what a black belt does is helps teach others to be black belts. So that's what I think the goal would be that is the goal that I want, is I would like to, and that's follow the example of guys like Jordan Harbinger set. He gives back all the time, and it's because he's in a position to. And so I definitely would want to do that too. And in 10 years, I hope to be in a position of having all this knowledge and connections to be able to help other people.
Man, you're on track too. In terms of the handling the setbacks, looking at it like it's how fast you can get back on track. Because I recently had a bit of like I don't know what you would call it. It was just like a week and a half of one of those funks, I guess, which I've rarely had. I've been on it up for like the last few months and just kind of crushing it and enjoying the process. And of course, not everything worked out, but just this like bulldozer. And then like 2 weeks ago, dude, it's just like, I was getting like doubtful. I was getting like all this crap. And then like and it was crazy. Cause I'm like, what happens is you start to let certain things slide that you used to be like, absolutely not. It's just part of your systems. And when you let that slide, you're subconsciously thinking, oh man, and you're not telling yourself that you don't know what's wrong, but something is off kilter. You're out of your routines. And then you go to junk food and you're like, why am I eating junk food? What is going on? 3 days ago, I just basically snapped out of it. Right. I like, that's awesome. I like stood my ground. I was like, no, this isn't happening. It was almost 9 last night, man. And yesterday I was already out of it, but it was still lingering a little bit, I guess, where I'm trying to like completely break free of that. Yeah. And it was weird, dude, because I'm really into health and wellness and fitness and taking care of yourself, every aspect. And oh man, it's already so late. If I go to the gym, it's just been so crowded. All this stuff, and I was like, nope, go. So I went and I had an amazing workout. And I'm glad I went, man.
Good for you.
I had a great sleep too.
Yeah, that's part of it too. Yeah, and then you don't have to have that feeling of like, oh, I'm a loser. I'm off my game and stuff like that.
And that's the thing. Like, it's so easy to convince yourself, like, oh, I chose that, so I'm not a loser. And it's like, yeah, no, you're not a loser, even if you choose it, didn't choose it, you're not a loser, but your subconscious mind knows you can do better. So it's that accountability where you're just like, come on, you know?
Yeah, I get it. And personally, I'm very similar in that regard, but I prefer to have that than not, because as much as it drives me crazy, as it sounds like it drives you crazy, it's gonna be the reason why we That's part of having ambition, I think, is ambitious people tend to be really hard on themselves. I know I am. And so, I can totally dig what you're saying, where I kind of describe it as feeling like this dark cloud's just hovering over me wherever I go. And I can't explain why, but for whatever reason, just, I'm not on my game. And man, it used to really bug me when I was younger, because those days time periods were so few and far between. I was always high energy, super happy, even if times weren't going great, I just had a really good attitude and approach to things. And it's one of the things I do like about myself and always want to promote, because that's like the best version of myself. And but now when I have those moments where that dark cloud, so to speak, is hovering, I kind of have to have a conversation, so to say, with myself, where I'm just like, dude, it's okay. You're human. This is temporary. You never are like this. Like, don't worry. You'll be back on it in no time. And as long as it's not too long, and which it hasn't been, and I think it's not long, because I'm actually giving myself that opportunity to just be in that funk, deal with it, get over it, move on. So, and yeah, man, to
acknowledge it, in other words.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. So, that's what's been working, but who knows? It's always evolving, right? Sanity is a fragile thing, my friend.
I could tell you definitely read some philosophies there. You're probably reading what's the guy called? Aristotle, is it?
There's all them folks. Yeah.
Hustle. How do you maintain your physical health? Oh no, I'm totally off. Health. So it's heart health and hustle. So heart, health. Sorry, health. How do you maintain your physical health to the level that you do without burning out?
For me, it's one of those things where I have to do some sort of moving every day, pretty much. So ideally it's jiu-jitsu. That's where my main focus is. But it is the downside of jiu-jitsu, as much as I love it, is that it requires other people, and usually it's a class format. So you need to be there at a certain time, which isn't always realistic. But so I'll get it in either, I try to do a lot of things in addition to that. I mean, you're beating yourself up doing jiu-jitsu. So I like to do a lot of stretching or yoga or just some sort of maintenance, but I have to do something. So even if it's weightlifting, if it's running, like I said, stretching, like I got to do something. So pretty much every day I do some sort of physical activity. It's actually probably more mental than anything, but I'm just glad.
Motion is lotion.
Amen. So, so that, I think that's how it is always doing something every day. And that keeps me physically and mentally healthy.
Yeah, powerful. What are some of your favorite recreational things? Because jiu-jitsu, you're taking it very serious. Not that I'm sure you can have some fun with that, but is there anything else you like to do? Mountain bike? I don't know. Anything?
Yeah, I mean, again, I love getting outdoors. So, anything outdoors is great, whether it's like just running, doing sprints. I'm not a big fan of like the treadmills and ellipticals and stuff like that. It's hard for me to stay focused on that. So yeah, anything outside is great. Hiking and stuff. We live by a pretty cool location in Oakland, so always exploring the city or the neighboring cities here is fun as well.
Cool, man. Well, hey, Rock, I want to respect your time. We're already running at 57 minutes, man. So, are you cool for another, couple minutes, or do you got to run? What's your plan here?
Yeah, I got a few more minutes.
Okay. Yeah, I appreciate you, man. This is gonna, of course, come out to be a really fun interview to listen to as well for the audience. So I'm excited for that. Mm-hmm. You're 31. You're a co-founder of a startup. You're acting as the CFO, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And really, that means sounds like you have many hats.
Yeah, truthfully, yeah. It's like, I mean, that's, my training and my background is there, so I definitely handle the financial and accounting aspects. But also, I'd like to handle the sales and really be on the ground as far as interacting with our customers, whether it's support, sales, running demos, anything.
Are you a data guy?
I mean, you gotta. I like to think of it as to kind of aid and inform those gut decisions. We use data to help make those decisions. So. What gets measured gets managed. So yeah, we gotta do some sort of tracking.
Love that. Yeah, I love that. That's the good friend of mine believes that same thing, which is anything you measure gets managed. Is that what you said? Improved, right?
Yep. Or both.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, for the goal of improvement, certainly, we're not just trying to manage stuff just because I like to.
I like this.
This is my way. Yeah. No. It's all for improvement.
That being said, what are your 3 most influential books?
Yeah, I'm a big reader, so that is probably always changing. I'm trying to look at my collection here to see what's been the most impactful.
Cool.
Yeah,
Take your time, man.
I mean, I think the Lean Startup, 4 Steps to Epiphany, those are kind of similar books. I think those really helped. Those were profound in the fact that it helped us in our approach to starting our business and really staying lean, staying bootstrapped. We continue to be bootstrapped now, and I think a lot of the suggestions and practices that the way we interpreted it was, I think, really helpful for us as founders and as a company. So that's definitely something that's been a big had a big impact on us.
The Lean Startup. Okay.
Yes. I think the book Meditations as well, which was Marcus Aurelius, the Roman soldier. He basically just I don't know if it was a diary or just a journal or whatever, but basically it's these essays that he wrote to himself and it's I don't think he had any idea of having this published. So it's hearing this general that is kind of I guess he's a hero figure to history. Depending who tells the story, right? But I think he's regarded as a legendary figure. So to read these writings in before Christ times or whenever time it was, and hear him deal with similar situations as us. It's times had to have been so different then. Thousands of years ago, but because he was still dealing with people and because he was still a person, there was something so human about it, showing that as much as things have changed, they really haven't as well. And and I think keeping it human is a huge thing. It's easier to forget about that than I think more people realize. I certainly would. I had some good advice early on where I was stressed out about something at my old job, and this guy just sat me down and goes, "Rock, it's just people, man. It's all good. It's just people. That's it. You just got to talk to people. It'll be fine." And so, so that's another book. And then I think the final one would be, what is it? I don't know. It's hard to say. Those are probably the 2 that stick out the most. So I don't want to add a third just to add a third. Oh, Rework.
Gotcha.
Rework. That's a good one.
Okay.
So that's by the founders of Basecamp. And that was great because that's exactly when I was kind of feeling a lot of the stuff at my corporate job. And they just have the founder, Jason Fried, has a wonderful way of articulating what's going on through the founder entrepreneur's mind, and just articulate it in a way that's that is how I feel. Thank you. It's nice seeing it on paper and hearing it from someone else that, this is an okay feeling to have.
Listening allows you to multitask. Let's say you're driving to work, you're running errands, cleaning up on a Saturday, whatever you're doing. And that's why I've reached out to audible.com. I became an Audible affiliate so you can get a free audiobook. I use Audible for many of my audiobooks, tremendous selection of books readily available. So if you don't want to spend a monthly subscription to Audible, put in your name and email, at which point you can listen to that audiobook, keep it forever, and cancel your subscription before 30 days so that you don't get charged for the monthly subscription. This way you get a free book. Go to triplehaudiobook.com. That's HHHaudiobook.com.
Rework.
Yes.
I have read that. I liked it a lot. Did you like it? Simple, right?
Very simple, but very good. Very good.
Mm-hmm.
How about finance? Because this is great that we connected. I didn't realize the financial aspect of your journey.
Sure.
For me, I'm at a place where I'm looking to get my finances in order. And I've always been a guy that's dismissive of it just because I didn't want to have to worry about money. But now I recognize to get there, you have to worry about money, or you have to be concerned about, like, you have to prioritize financial study. You have to know what you're, doing. So there's always a lot of volatility involved in finance, right? But also, what would you recommend? Where would you recommend I start? I've done a lot of the mindset stuff behind it. I've done Dave Ramsey course on financial, snowball stuff. Yeah. But where would you say in terms of if you had like a couple books to share, anything like that, resources?
Yeah, there's a book called, I think it's called like The Best Investment Book, or The Only Investment Book You'll Need. It's a kind of a aggressive title, but the advice in it is very practical. And
is that by Andrew Tobias?
Yes, that's it.
Okay.
Andrew Tobias, thank you. And I think a lot of the stuff that he says I fall in line with. And to me, it's like, it really depends on what your financial situation is, your goals. For some people, it's like, I need to get out of credit card debt or student loans before I can really have that freedom to start making some, real financial moves. Or
right.
There's people that have, they do have a nice cushion and they want to figure out what's the best way to, put this capital to work. It depends on how risk averse or risk seeking you are. There's going to be some people who are like, I'm down to just, get in the stock market, or, even riskier endeavors like venture capital investing or angel investing. Or you might be a little bit older and want more stability. And so you're going to, probably look for less volatile instruments, but they, most likely will pay out less than as well. So it really depends on, what you're trying to do. I think, as up and comers and young individuals like us, we're still trying to build that wealth and that value. And I think our personal brands is really what we're doing the hard work on building right now. And that'll turn into something that is going to be a huge financial payoff at some point.
Yeah.
So, is that helpful?
Yeah, very. Thank you. Very helpful. Any other books that you would recommend? Because I know you're saying, it really depends on this, depends on that. I'll just be honest with you. I'm at a place where I'm paying off debt, and I was way risk tolerant. I'm risk tolerant, man. Like year and a half ago, but I'm risk tolerant. All right. Investment went bad. 3.5 month income level of mistake. And I've sought out a financial mentor who is running a successful business, netting.
Very cool. That's
yes.
Great. Yeah.
Sitting down with him, he's always been very risk tolerant. He told me, be out of debt so you're free then to, go do these things. And I agree with that. Who am I to disagree, right? So I'm like, all right, I'm going to take it and run with it, do what he says. In terms of like books though, where I could be reading right now and kind of shaping myself, laying the groundwork, laying the framework for a successful financial future. Do you have any, the investment book's great. Anything else you'd recommend? If you have like a list, I don't care, man, just anything.
I don't have a list. I think the other...
or a few, yeah.
Yeah. So another one that'd be great is called Profit First. And I really like this because it uses... Have you heard of it?
Is that where you pay yourself first or something?
Exactly.
No,
so
sorry.
It's, yeah. So you build in profit as its own like expense in your business. So like, if you're going to say 30% is allocated towards marketing, we're going to say, a certain percentage is going to be dedicated to profit. And the idea is like, companies that like at year end and they look at their income statement and they show like net income of, thousands, 100,000s, whatever. But they don't see that in their bank account because they just were spending as they go. And he kind of uses the envelope example of like you take a bunch of different envelopes and you allocate, this is for groceries, this is for fun, this is for food and stuff like that. And then you make basically an envelope for profit. And then it just kind of uses some, like human psychology to say like, well, because I've already, allocated this money here and I'm going to have good discipline to not touch this, it's gonna, you just let it build up and stuff. So it's like a little trick to help you manage your money. And so we use it for our business. I don't use it personally, certainly to the degree that the author states, but you really can use it for your business or your personal. It's really just cash management strategies and saving strategies. So that's a good one. Another one that's more business focused but is really good is Simple Numbers. And the author of that is a CPA, so that was pretty cool to see another CPA doing some cool stuff. That one's definitely business focused, but again, it's a really practical approach to, understanding finances, focusing on what metrics are probably the best for your business. It's not going to give you like a template and say this is what you got to do, but it's like just really good way to focus on how to look at the right things.
Is that 4 keys to unlock your business potential? The Straight Talk Big Profits, Simple Numbers.
Yeah, what's the author's name? That sounds like it.
Greg Crabtree.
That's him.
Cool. Okay, I haven't read that or heard of it, so I'm excited to check that out. Cool.
Yeah. I don't hear that one much either. But it's a good one too.
Have you heard of Early Retirement Extreme? This FIRE movement?
No.
So I'm gonna check this out. A friend of mine it's Jacob Lundfisker, but it's literally like, here's what you do. If you want to be like hyper frugal, retire early, live frugally, that kind of stuff. So it's not for everyone. I didn't finish it or really get into it yet, but I'm excited to, because I already downsized a lot of stuff to put abundance towards things that I want to do right now. Prioritizing a lot of things, and it's tough, man, but it's a good choice. Like you said, like that 10-year future perspective, man, I'm always reminding myself like
it's not glamorous, man. Like I think often the best, wealth creation advice or investment advice or just financial advice, it's usually not glamorous, which has been very similar to building a company. It's a lot of just rolling your sleeves up, getting in there, staying disciplined, holding yourself accountable, having a goal, but also having a plan on how you're going to reach that goal.
That's good stuff. Rock, thank you so much for coming on the show today. How can the audience follow up with you guys, follow up with you personally?
You can check out SquadCast at squadcast.fm. On all the major social channels, it's SquadCast FM. And then I'm on the social channels as Rockwell Felder. And then also, if you want to check out our podcast, Between Two Mics, we, again, focus on people that are doing some really neat stuff in podcasting and pushing the medium forward. So you can check us out there as well, and that's all accessible through the website.
Fantastic. Bonus, if you're still listening, we have the park bench paradigm. If you could go back in time to a really dark time when you're in your 20s, or one of the hardest times in your life, regardless of age, you see this younger version of Rock. He's sitting in a park overlooking some water on a bench. You could walk up to him, put your arm around your own shoulder, and say anything using the pronoun you. What would you say?
Believe in yourself more, and good things will happen. Yeah, that's it.
That's awesome, man.
I doubted myself too much. I think being a critic of yourself is good, and trying to be introspective and reflective, but I was also really hard on myself and brutal, and I would be going to anything and just being like, you're not going to graduate. Like, why? You're lazy. You're not smart enough. All these reasons to not do these things that I did. And then again, the CPA was the last time I did that. Cause again, I was like, I'm not going to do the CPA. I just got done with school. Like, I don't want to do any more tests. I don't want to, I'm tired of, just starting over from scratch. But it's like, that's just life. Like, especially if you're ambitious, you're always like reaching these new levels, and you're always a beginner somewhere. So just believe in yourself. It'll be all right.
Congratulations on making it to the end of this episode. What about this episode stood out to you? Next, I need your help sharing this show. I want this podcast to impact and reach 6,000 people per episode by August 31st, 2019. And I want us to reach 15,000 people per month by March 29th, 2020. Have you been enjoying multiple episodes of The Heart Healthy Hustle? I'm thrilled to share with you an exclusive invitation to join our new Facebook community. To get to know other Heart Healthy Hustlers, simply go to thehearthealthyhustle.com/Facebook, where you can expect to see different members of our community being featured weekly in Facebook Live calls. I appreciate all of your love and support, and I will see you in the next episode. As always, be generous on every occasion. There is a story for you, and live wide open.